All right, hopefully this time around goes a little better. This is the Wild Bill Podcast, back with episode number 34 in honor of our good friend P Mitch 34. Peyton, how you doing this week?
I'm well, man. Championship week. I'm feeling good. I appreciate the invitation, the open invitation to always be on the pod. So it's gonna be a good week, man. Anytime I get to talk ball with Wild Bill, it's a good week.
That's
How you
great.
feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. Everything's kind of returning slightly back to normal here in Southern California after those fires. Obviously, there's a lot of cleanup that's going to have to happen. So back to normal is going to happen for a good while. There was another fire that kind of burst out yesterday. Not in, well, kind of close to a residential area. I know Fran, my girlfriend, she had a bunch of family that was nearby, so they had to kind of evacuate. I don't think their homes are in immediate danger, but still always startling when all those fires start. It grew pretty quickly. I was out golfing with Fran's dad actually,
Oh, well,
and on the very first hole we were walking to the green and just saw a huge cloud of smoke, and I was like, that's not a cloud over there. What's going on?" And it spread pretty quickly, but it looks like forward progress isn't gonna accelerate to the degree that
mhm.
all those other fires are going. So it's that season it seems down here, but
Yeah.
thankfully they're more on top of this one it feels like. And yeah, things
So
are.
at this moment, are the fires like extinguished or are they still like going? Kind
Some of
of.
them are still going, like the bigger ones. It's like 75, 80% contained. The
Hmm.
Palisades one is 75, 85 or 80% contained. The one out in Altadena, that one's like 95% contained. So that one's almost completely done. Um, yeah, they've been working day and night to put an end to that.
Hey, shout out to the fire department out there. We love y'all. Appreciate the work and the volunteers that are helping out there as well.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's not much else new in my life. Just been playing a lot of GTA San Andreas.
I feel you.
Bought a PS5 and went right to the PS2.
That's crazy. But I I've been hosting the playoffs. It kind of just happened. My dad loves watching the Bird games, especially playoff games with me since 2017 when I flew into Arizona. They were in Scottsdale at the time, living
Mhm.
there, and I flew in to surprise them to watch the Eagles game together, and we won that game. So since then, we've been trying to make sure that we watch all the playoff games, and we might be the good luck charm the Eagles need, man. So I know that championship weekend's rolling around, and we'll probably get together and watch it again. But it's been
Mhm.
fun. We watched the wild card, we watched the divisional round, and up next, the championship weekend, man.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, let's the way I wanted to talk about it today, let's go over the NFC games first. So,
Okay.
had a thriller, low-key thriller in Philadelphia. It ended up coming
Yeah.
down to the wire. I was watching with friend's dad, who is a Rams fan, so we were going through all the emotions. I didn't have a dog in the fight. Obviously, I'd be happy with either one of you guys being happy. So,
Mhm.
take me through that. How'd you feel throughout the game? How'd you feel about that last drive? What was that like?
It felt great, man. So, well, nerve-wracking. Let me say that. Not great, nerve-wracking. Matthew Stafford still has the juice. You never know what he can do with the ball in his hands. Um, their team played very good ball, and they looked at what passing concepts that we were running the first time around when we played them and completely neutralized it. I mean, obviously, the snow doesn't help trying to run routes, but also doesn't help trying to be a DB running backwards. So I'm not going to just say, "Oh, the snow, the snow, the snow." No, they played a great defense to kind of minimize what we were looking to do with our
Mhm.
pass game. The receivers just weren't getting open. That's why I don't really blame Jalen for taking as many sacks as he did. I would like to see him get rid of the ball so that you're not seeing the injury happen to him, especially late in that game. But he doesn't put the ball in harm's way, and that's something that I love about Jalen. Um, I'm really trying to do this pod, and I was mentioning that earlier, without notes because I mean I'm really just trying to give you my authentic, real feelings. For how this that game went, man. I mean, first half we were lights out in the run game. Saquon was going nuts, running rampant, doing what he does best. Uh, but as that snow started to come down, I felt like our team got a little bit more energy on defense, started making a little bit more plays, started getting off the field on third downs. But like I said, that's a potent offense over there in LA, and Cooper Kupp's going to get his. Uh, Puka Nakua is going to get his. And their running back is good as well.
Hmm.
Um, he's a little shifty guy and he runs hard. One thing I will mention is before the game started, Jared Verse had been talking mess, man, talking mess about the Eagles fans. He came down and was walking by Jalen Carter talking mess. Jalen Carter is a real one and said, "Hey, put that game check on it then, if you're really feeling frisky." Jared Verse just said, "Well, I'll take that 77K bonus for getting to the NFC Championship game." You're
Hmm.
not going to see that 77K, Jared, because you're in Cancun.
Yeah,
But
not,
hey,
not this season.
at least you didn't lose your game check bet in that one. It was smart for you to not do that, big guy.
Hmm.
But I will say Jared Verse did back up his talk, dude. He plays with reckless abandonment. He plays with energy and passion for his team. You got to respect good ball when you see it, and he backed up his play. So
Hmm.
shout out to Jared Verse, man. What were
Rookie.
your thoughts? Yeah, rookie too. Yeah. Um, I mean, people are saying that he might get defensive rookie of the year. I'm selfish and I want to see Quinyon Mitchell get it. He's been playing lights out, or even Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean really only out of all the games that he played. I know he didn't start the first two games, but out of all the games that he played, he only really had one bad game against Carolina, and that's Adam Thielen. And Adam Thielen can get busy in the slot on anybody, let alone a rookie.
Hmm.
So, um, between Quinyon or Coop, I'd like to see them get it. But Jared Verse has had a hell of a year, so I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if he got it.
Yeah, he's making a good case. I mean, like to your point about Jalen Hurts, him taking those sacks took him out of field goal range a couple times.
Yeah,
So I feel like that contributed a lot to the Rams having that chance to tie the game at
exactly.
the end. So that's like you said, something that maybe needs to be worked on. But other than that, it felt like the final score didn't really dictate how most of the game felt.
Yeah.
I know the Rams were completely out of their element in playing in the snow. Obviously, you can't simulate that out here. I'm looking at blue skies and the sun out here and a whole lot of green. Um, so that's a whole different ball game of like knowing how to keep your feet under you. And obviously, like the Eagles were feeling that. The Eagles are smelling the blood in the water, and they know that the Rams weren't going to play the same way that they usually do. There was a lot of drops. You saw Matt Stafford, the ball slipped out of his hand on the handoff to Kyron Williams.
Yep.
So some of those turnovers were definitely a contribution of all of that. And the Eagles didn't have that. So that was a big factor in it. Saquon just owns the Rams, dude.
Yep.
I think the stat was he had 6 touchdowns this season of 60 yards or over, and 4 of them were against the Rams, which is crazy.
It's
Um, that's
ridiculous.
that's like Aaron Rodgers over the Bears type of ownership. Um,
I know you hate to admit that, but
it hurts. Um, but yeah,
he,
man.
yeah, man, Saquon is one of one. I've been saying he was a better running back over Christian McCaffrey this entire time. But I mean, that was me having to play him twice a year and knowing that their quarterback situation in New York was awful and seeing Saquon still run the way he did and make plays for his team the way he did. It was easier for me to say that because I see him twice a year. Um, while the national media, I mean, Christian went from Cam Newton in his prime to leaving Cam when he went on a decline to a potent 49ers offense. So like it was easier to say that Christian was the guy when Saquon was doing, I wouldn't say as well, but very well for their circumstances in New York. So
Mhm.
if you get him behind an even competent line, at least real ball knowers knew what was about to happen with Saquon.
Mhm.
Um, The weather was crazy. Shout out to the gods for that. People that were saying that, oh, Matt Stafford and the Rams would have won if the weather was different. It's as if we didn't see it earlier in the year what would have happened. We
Yeah.
already beat them on in their home, not just adding the Philly element to it. We beat them in LA. Stop it, please. Stop it. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's really enough on them. I mean, it's on to the next for us. I mean, we have a bigger goal. The goal wasn't to win the divisional round. The goal is rings. So bring
Hmm.
on the next opponent, man.
So you guys got a tough matchup against the division, the NFC Beast, as they
Yeah.
call it. The NFC
Yeah.
Beast is what people thought the NFC North was.
And then what happened? Two, it was it three 13 win teams, 13 plus one teams because
Mhm.
the line's at 14. Yeah, that's nuts. They all get
Man,
bounced.
the Bears could have gone to the playoffs and lost too.
It's like the Cowboys and it's like, yeah, you can go to the playoffs and lose. Um, but no, I mean, yeah, let's rolling into that game to speak about it. The Commanders really went in on the Lions
hmm
in Detroit.
Yep.
I have a friend that's a Commanders fan and a really good friend that played football Division II as well, and in Detroit. His name is CJ, and he's a huge Lions fan. He's from Metro Detroit, played in Detroit, and he was not happy. But he kind of laid it out simply, man. He was just like, they did to us what we've been doing to everyone all year. Turnovers and playing consistent.
hmm
Like that's all of this game ever is. Turnovers and playing consistent. Keeping the ball out of harm's way. You have 5 turnovers, it's hard to win a game.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, they get completely pantsed in their own house. That I don't even think the pick six was the major turning point. I think the
No,
interception in the end zone at the end of the first half was
I
really
agree.
where the tone changed.
Yeah,
Because, you know, the pick six was Jared Goff trying to overreach for a deeper pass. I think he went back into his older habits of who he was with the Rams, seeing that he was down by 10 points in a playoff game. He overreacted to that and tried to overcompensate for some of this, maybe the slower start that he felt that he had.
yeah,
And, you can understand that on the first interception that led to the pick six. But it was the momentum that they had going into halftime that would have been nice to, I think they had a timeout or so and they had a little bit of time, even if he threw underneath before the end zone. And he tried to force that one into Jameson Williams and turned into the interception. And that completely took the air out of their offense. So,
yep,
um, yeah, David Montgomery coming back. I don't know if that was a great idea. Maybe they could have saved him if they had advanced to the NFC Championship. I felt like that was a little rash to rush him into coming back and playing the same role that he had been playing all year when Jahmyr Gibbs is great handling that load by himself. Um, and it just Jaden Daniels feels special, man. The plays that he's able to do, the his mobility and I saw somebody on Twitter say like if Jane Daniels is a first read quarterback, then his first read is always open.
yeah.
And yeah, man, I just think back into the debate of like who would you have taken one or two, Jaden or Caleb? And it's like neither of them are wrong. It's just Jaden is in such a good spot, and that speaks so highly of Dan Quinn and his
There you
culture
go.
that he set.
There you go.
And
Um,
pairing him up with Cliff Kingsbury was also like he's a proven quarterback whisperer, if you want to call it, and just like
yep,
being able to you know, mold his scheme to the guy that he has. He did it with Pat Mahomes. He did it with Kyler Murray a little bit. He did it a little bit with Baker when he was at Texas
yep,
Tech.
yep.
So he's got that experience and he's really like letting it fly. And everything's clicking at the same time. So, shout out to them. Hats off. Tip of the hat to them. It's
I
all
know you're
lining up.
happy. Yeah, I know you're happy to see the Lions get bounced, especially in their first round, technically.
It's complicated. I feel for long suffering fan bases, but it's kind of funny.
That is Wild Bills for the fans at home. His Cubs heart coming out.
Cubs and Bears.
Yeah, Cubs and Bears. But I mean, yeah, I guess the Bears, we weren't alive for it in
No,
'85, but that Cubs one was bad for a long time.
no,
And the
dude, it
fact
was
that
so
we got to see
sick.
it in our lifetime is pretty crazy.
It was so sick.
Yeah, that parade was crazy. I was
Like,
actually just talking about that at the little detour. I was talking about how I went to the parade. I'm a huge Phillies fan. F the
mhm,
Cubs. And if I had to pick a Chicago team, it's Southside till I die. That's where all the black people in Chicago reside, so I can't pick the North Side.
mhm,
But that parade was gnarly. 3 million people in one location. It was like the seventh or eighth largest gathering of human beings, existence of humans.
mhm.
Like I wore all black to the parade. While everyone was donning their blue and white and red, but it was a good time. Were you able to come up for that?
Dude, no, I would have dropped the money too, but I had a midterm the next day, the next
So
morning.
many people did. Yeah, it was literally because that's the way. Yeah, okay. When the year ends right there for baseball. So
Mm.
many people like came up from Mizzou, but like were like, oh, like I have to drive back like so quickly after because of everything. ISU drove up, Mizzou, Iowa, like all those surrounding schools. Obviously, you being at San Diego State makes it really hard
It was
to get
complicated,
back.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, but getting back to that Commanders game, uh, yeah, man, I don't think that you guys made the wrong decision selecting Caleb. And I say that to say that Jaden is the guy there. But and this is gonna sound kind of similar to what I said about Saquon. Like I've been going up against Terry McLaurin now 4 or 5 seasons. I want to say. I want to say five. I want to say five. And the dude is special.
Hmm.
Terry is special. His leadership. This is off the field stuff. His leadership, his um charismatic, his love for the community. The dude just lit like you don't ever hear anything negative about him in the media. The dude just all he cares about is ball and winning. And so to be able to come into a situation where you have a receiver like that that has had 1,000+ yard receiving seasons with the likes of a Sam Howell of I'm forgetting Buddy's name that was there before with Carson Wentz
Mm.
and I'm forgetting the other quarterback that was bad.
I
Um,
can't even remember.
it doesn't. Yeah. Taylor Heineke.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, like it's middle of the road guys. You know what I mean? Not
Mm.
bad, but like middle of the road guys. That was a wrong adjective for Taylor Heineke. Just middle of the road guys.
Hmm.
Guys that are trying to make the name for themselves, but just aren't good enough to be the guy. Rear backups, if you will.
Hmm.
1,000 yard receiving yard seasons with those guys. Of course, when you get a Heisman winner in Jaden Daniels at the number 2 overall pick, you're gonna be able to do something special. But not only that, taking a smoke screen, what was it, 60, 70 yards, breaking through 2 tackles to get there? Like,
It's huge.
all right, Terry. Like, I've been calling him Scary Terry since his rookie year because he put literally inflicted fear against Darius Slay the first time they played. This was just coming out routing him. And he's not as fast as he used to be. Um, but the man is just still a polished pro. Uh, I would say all Pro Bowl player. I wouldn't give him all pro, but Pro Bowl, consistent Pro Bowl player. Yeah, he's nice. So I'm excited for this matchup this weekend. I think our defense and with Quinion being able to play, I think Quinion and Slay both being back in, I think we have a good matchup for us,
That's
especially
big.
with our D line. Yeah,
Hmm.
but I don't want to get to that point yet. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's get into the AFC games.
All right, let's do it. First, let's I don't have too much to go over with the Chiefs and the Houston Texans. All I gotta
Yeah.
say is NFL is rigged. NFL rigged and not like, let me be more specific. And we can talk about this as two former high level quarterbacks. Um, Patrick Mahomes is really baiting all these defensive players to draw flags, and it's an issue. And I can't speak too much to it as I was a statue pocket presence quarterback that occasionally rolled out on some designed bootleg
Facts.
plays.
Facts.
Um, but dude, just like it feels dirty every time we see it.
It definitely, I agree with you fully as the mobile quarterback in the room. I could not throw like you, but I could definitely run that. Um, but yeah, uh, Pat is baiting. We all know it. I mean, it's nothing different than in soccer, what Messi does or what Steph does in basketball. Like it is what it is. It's frustrating to having to watch. I at this point, there's no rules against it though, so hopefully the NFL takes a look at it and either allows the defense to truly play defense and every inch on that field gets to hit people, and or quarterbacks or running backs that try to do this, or receivers, or any ball carrier that tries to do this, is getting fined after the fact. Because the defensive players, even if you don't get flagged on a play for leading with your head or hitting on a defenseless receiver or anything like that, you get fined after the game, even if you get flagged for it during the game.
Hmm.
So that needs to be implemented for the offense. As of right now, there's just not enough offensive penalties. I said that very weird. Penalties, to keep them accountable. We need more offensive penalties to keep them accountable, like the defense is. The defense is playing with, at this point, two hands tied behind their back, and as a pass corner, it's just hard to see, and it makes it not as enjoyable from the defensive side of the ball. There needs to be, I mean, obviously, offense sells tickets, but defense wins championships, and
Right.
so it was, I mean, if you think about all the historic defenses going to 2000 Ravens, 1985 Bears, um, the Eagles defense from the early 2000s, the Giants defense from the early 2000s, like you were able to lay people out. Like you were
Right.
really able to lay hat, and you're just not able to do that anymore. Understandably, you want to prevent concussions, but at the same time, come on, dog. Like this running out of bounds, being scared stuff. Come on.
How would you feel about like in the NBA, there's a flopping um foul. Would you be able to see like the NFL implementing something like that in game? Like a 5 yard penalty or nullifying the play that happened or
Um, I don't necessarily think that should happen for the offense because there's no flopping scenario for the defense either. So I
mm,
wouldn't want to see that
I see.
happen. I would just want to see their money get taken. So hopefully they're like, okay, let me stop doing this so that I'm not losing my money.
Mm,
I think that that will help. Um,
okay.
enough, I think. I mean, these guys are competitors, and at the end of the day, I think a lot of these guys actually don't really care as much as people like, especially college football fans, like to say, like, oh, all they care about is the money. I really don't think these guys care about the money as much as they think. People love playing football.
Right.
Like human beings love the opportunity to inflict your will on another man is one of the actually I can compare it. I don't know if you saw the clip of Cam Newton uh jumping from a boat onto a helicopter
I did.
surface. Uh and he talked about on his podcast about how that was one moment in the last, I think he said 2 or 3 seasons that he hasn't played or like been involved in football, that he felt that like that juice, that energy, that drive
Mm,
doing that show. It was like a Marine show where like all the training and stuff, and that's what he was doing for the fans at home that didn't see the clip. Basically comparing that to football and how he got to like give a little bit more of that competitive drive. Um, that is such a drug
mhm.
that is legal that I think that these people would still, and it connected back to the topic that we're talking about. I think that quarterbacks would still Pat Mahomes would still like do that because A, he's making hundreds of millions of dollars, and B, literally half a billion, and then B, uh, he wants to win so much more than he cares about that what $20,000 fine. Like
Mhm.
that drive of that, I guarantee you, he cares more about winning than he cares about that check.
Yeah.
As that high level competitor, it's hard to tell people that don't really play sports, but that's a level that man, it feels good to win.
Yeah. Okay. The adrenaline rush
Yeah,
of victory.
feels good, man. Feels
It does
hell
feel
of a
good.
good. So, what do you think about all of a sudden, especially since we talked about this earlier? I remember Travis Kelsey. You
Y-
lost in the championship game of your fantasy football, right?
Yeah, dude. He
And
would
now,
would have been nice if we treated every week like the playoffs. Yeah, he's finding ways to make it happen. Conveniently with his girlfriend in the box, along with his girlfriend's new best friend, Caitlin Clark.
oh,
Did you see that?
yeah, I did see that. How do you feel then about this is off topic now, but Taylor Swift just rotating through famous people? It was Ice Spice last season. Now it's Caitlin Clark.
Ice Spice was oh she was
Was
friends with her. Oh, that's
yeah.
right. Weren't they in the box together
They're in
at
the
the
box
Super
together.
Bowl?
Yeah. Yeah. A couple
Yeah,
playoff games, I want to say too.
it's a revolving door of what can you do for me? I don't know. Did they ever collaborate?
They
What's
t
they're just for goodwill? They're just hanging
would
out.
would you ever listen to a collaboration of Taylor Swift and Ice Spice together?
Yeah, it's not the cra I've listened to crazier things.
Who?
DMX's Christmas album. You ever listen to that? That's
Yeah, it was
crazy.
great.
It is great, but it's crazy.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah, dude. R.I.P. DMX, dude.
We need to get the Nutty Boys back together.
Dude, I'm
Get on the
down.
track. Get on the track.
I perfected my karaoke voice of I shouldn't do it on the pod. We gotta keep it rolling, but
Yeah.
I bring
Um,
down the house. I'll put it that way.
moving on to the next game that we got to watch for the divisional round.
Mhm.
What were your thoughts of the Ravens Bills game?
The
That was a
Ravens and the
heavy
Bills.
match. Heavy match.
It was a star-studded one. It felt like both teams were nervous to make the first move, if that makes sense, because there was points being scored. Um, it felt like neither team wanted to mess up, and that kind of played more into the Bills' hand rather than the Ravens' hand. Because the Bills kind of had that bruising, like bully ball kind of persona to them, whereas
Yep.
the Ravens were more like a finesse kind of thing. And that the finesse way of playing football, it's kind of more susceptible to, turnovers or putting the ball on the ground, which is exactly what happened. Lamar lost the fumble, threw a pick, and then Mark Andrews obviously is going to be like the guy that everybody's pointing at with the fumble and the drop 2-point conversion at the end, which
Scapegoat.
scapegoat. That's a good way of putting it. It's unfortunate for him, but man, um, it's a shame because I would have loved to see both of these teams play as the in the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a little disappointed by Lamar. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was kind of hoping for a little bit of better showing. Um, his numbers are obviously just better than Josh Allen's in terms of the MVP race because I do think the MVP is going to come out of this game. I think it was between him and Josh Allen. But the optics are tough, at least in the head-to-head matchup that they had. So I don't know where this puts either of them. Man, I would have loved to see an overtime game. So I'm still like replaying that last play in my brain and just thinking, damn, we got robbed. Um, but that's another game where like the elements came into play. I don't know if Baltimore just wasn't used to it or they were out of their element in Buffalo, but these teams were so like close to one another that I think it was like something so small like that was a major contributing issue to the end and the final score. Um, yeah.
I will say, so two things to comment back to what you said.
Mhm.
Uh, NFL, I actually just looked it up while you were talking. NFL voting for the MVP does end prior to the playoffs.
Oh, so it was done. Okay.
Yeah, so they do that on purpose just so that situations like this don't happen. I didn't know that answer. I'm glad they do, just because it'd be unfortunate to see, okay, well, this guy beat this guy, so now he's MVP. It's like, well, okay, like let's not diminish, especially like a couple of those Lamar seasons that he did win the MVP. He didn't, I think he got bounced in the divisional round, so it's like, is it fair for him to lose the MVP just because he got bounced in the divisional round when he actually had like, especially that first MVP that he had was nuts. He was doing video game things on people.
Hmm.
Um, Secondly, the second thing I'm gonna comment on, you actually said that what shocked me a little bit was that the Ravens you feel were a finesse team and the Bills were kind of more that dominant run style offense. Um, I would say that the Ravens have the ability, kind of similar to the Eagles, to be a finesse team, but their bread and butter was Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson and a read option with being a ground and pound team. So the
Hmm.
fact that the Bills got them out of, or if the Ravens just game planned it, maybe. And you know what's funny enough, Bill? I don't know if you know this. Guess what the name of the Ravens offensive coordinator is?
Oh, it's Todd Monken.
You know whose brother that is?
We know Todd Monken. His brother coached us.
Ted Monken. Yep.
Now disgraced football high school coach, Ted Monken.
Disgraced. And the thing is, he really did his dad bad for making him look like his dad is a Hall of Famer. Ted, if you're out there watching this, but Todd,
Hmm.
great coach, has been a great coach. Um, Kind of crazy that he kind of game planned it more. to be a finesse team in this game. You would
Yeah.
think that they would rely on Derrick Henry. I mean, like that's why you kind of limit his touches during the regular season to let him be your bell cow, similar to what the Eagles are doing with Saquon in the playoffs. Like you sat him in multiple fourth quarters when you guys had big leads. Like this is what you're here for. What are you doing? Um, yeah, it was kind of it was very confusing. I mean, even on that 2 point conversion, why like yes, the play was open and Mark catches that ball 9.9 times out of 10, like he should have caught that pass. But you run that with Derrick Henry, kind of similar to like the Russell Wilson and Beast Mode situation. Run the
Yeah.
ball, you don't have to worry about something like just it's way easier to hand it off than having to worry about someone catching it. I understand that they're pros and that they're paid to catch the ball. Just hand the ball off. You're within
Mhm.
2 yards with the arguably, I know Saquon for me is the best running back in the league, arguably one of the best backs in the league. Just give him the ball.
Yeah.
Or just do a read option, and let either Lamar keep it, and he's dynamic on the edge, or give it to Derek. Um,
Yeah. You're better at enunciating what I said without saying that they went away from what their identity had been with Derrick Henry in this
exactly.
game.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I understand what you were trying to say.
Mm.
It's just it's crazy, man, to think about. Very, very crazy to think about. I don't know if that was in their game plan or something they saw. So obviously, I mean, Todd is a very smart, successful offensive coordinator. Don't want to make it seem as if he didn't scheme it up or didn't do his due diligence with uh prep before the game, but
Mhm.
just simply odd to see.
Some funny business.
Funny business going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like some people got money on something or something. I don't
Yeah. I don't know. So
know.
that was my impression. That's my impression of the game. So it'll be the Bills and the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, which is going to be a
Yep.
great game, as well
Yeah.
as a great game for the NFC and the Birds and the Commies. Obviously, I know where your loyalties are gonna lie. Do you have a score prediction for the Birds?
I don't do that. Someone asked me, I
No.
think Will asked me the same thing in the divisional round. But that's a Commanders fan.
Hmm.
And I said, as long as we win, man. I don't care about could be 1 point. Could be we could win by one, man. I do not care. I do not care about style points. It kind of same similar to Jalen's mindset. I don't care if I throw for 300 yards. I don't care if this or that happens. Win the game, man. We're in Philly. We get to make right on losing to them the second time in the year at the
Hmm.
towards the end of the year when they thought they were the best thing since sliced bread. When Jalen went down on the 11th play, CJ Gardner Johnson got kicked out, and they had that game-winning drive. Um, I want all the chips down, and I want this to be a beating. I want this to be as bad as when the Eagles played the Vikings in 2017 for the NFC Championship game to go to play the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I want us to make them look foolish. Like, hey, Jaden Daniels, hell of a run, brother. Hell of a run. But it
It's
ends
over.
it ends on Sunday. Yeah, it ends on Sunday. Um, I don't have a score prediction. For I'll give you one for the Chiefs Bills. I see this being a obviously I think everyone's gonna say the same thing. Highly scoring game or high scoring game. I would say 38, 38, 28. And the caveat to that is it's gonna be a 10-point game going into the fourth quarter, 38-28. And then who's ever let me say this, 38-28. I actually see the Bills winning this game.
Yeah. Okay,
And
I
I
like
see
that.
the Bills winning this game, and then I see the Chiefs driving down in the fourth quarter, getting a touchdown to make it 35-38 Bills,
Hmm.
and then the Bills running the game out, and then the Chiefs don't get the ball back. Or I see Pat throwing a pick on that last drive,
Okay.
and then they run the clock out. So that it's either going to be the 38-28 or 35-38. Um, but I can see a pick coming from Pat and the most unopportune time because I feel like his dark blood magic is running out, man. He's not
Yeah.
like the
Hmm.
the Red Witch from Game of Thrones. I feel like his the dawn is coming on a new age.
Yeah, that pendulum's gonna swing the other way at some point.
Exactly.
So I predict me personally for the Chiefs Bills game. I think the Chiefs haven't scored over 30 this season, or if they did, it was only once or twice.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I think it'll be 24-21, hoping that it's the Bills, but I think that'll be a score. That defense is a little more stifling than we like to give it credit for on the Chiefs side.
Very
So,
stout.
yeah, that's those are our predictions. And one final note as we're running out of time on my cheap cheap Zoom meeting.
Hey,
Ben Johnson to the Bears.
before we get into this,
Mhm.
hey, subscribe. You guys comment everything that goes a long way. Follow
Mhm.
us on Twitter at WildBill11 at PMitch34. You do that. That helps out the podcast. We'll be able to finally get Zoom Premium. We'll be
That's
able to
right.
give you longer podcasts. So,
Yes, thank you.
yeah.
That would be nice. It'd be nice not having to look at this clock counting down to 4 minutes. Yeah, I don't have much else to add, but Ben Johnson to the Bears. We got the hot chick. We got the girl that everybody wanted.
Yeah.
He's looking good in the Bears colors. He's taking pictures in front of Caleb Bloom's locker with his kids. He's happy to be there, giving inspired speeches. He's
To
got
the
Caleb
staff.
Williams dressed as Morpheus sitting in the front row. They made sure to get each other's actual numbers this time.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Those kids that pranked him.
hmm
That was
Yeah, so I'm
hilarious.
I'm excited. Don't have much to add right now. The real work is getting underway just now,
Yep.
but I'm happy. I'm
Looking
happy.
looking
It's,
forward to the spring. Who would
Mhm.
you like? Have you been able to take a look at any pre-mock drafts or anything? For hopefully you say offensive linemen.
Yes.
But who would you like to see?
First
Um,
round offensive lineman. Every single mock draft is pointing to Will Campbell coming out of LSU. As
okay.
we had mentioned before in our podcast, they're feeding them something different down there.
Yeah, they are.
Um,
And gumbo.
so yeah, the combo.
Gumbo is different, bro. I gained 10
Um,
pounds.
yeah, so I'm hoping for offensive line first round, defensive line second round, and then fit around whatever else need that maybe Ben Johnson can advise on going
Yeah.
forward. I don't see Keenan Allen returning. I think his contract is up. He's only going to get older and fatter. Um, we'll see who's a free agent. I think maybe Cooper Kupp is a free agent. Maybe that's something we can explore.
You know who is as well, I think? I think Adam Thielen is also
I
coming
wouldn't
up.
hate that.
Yeah, I think he's
And
coming up.
Adam Thielen with some built-up angst against the NFC North. He might
Exactly.
be up for some revenge. I wouldn't hate
Yeah.
that.
It's actually a sleeper. If that happens, just know you heard it here first, folks.
hmm Another person that can take a young Roma Dunze under his wing.
That would actually be, that's what I'm saying, man. Like that actually doesn't sound too bad.
No.
It's like almost like Brett Favre coming back to the Vikings.
Yeah.
That was so gross. Seeing
No,
him in purple.
that was awesome.
But
But yeah,
thank you, folks.
that's what we got. Peyton, thanks again for coming on. I
Of course,
appreciate
brother.
you. I love you.
I love you, man.
Cool. And subscribe to the pod. Comment, subscribe. Let us know if
Like.
there's anything we need to touch on.
We keep talking. We love it.
That's right. All right. Until next time, it's over.